Good morning. I'm Chris with Everyman Overland, coming at you today with a product that I've been kind of interested in for quite some time and never really got around to getting one. But the pricing on this stuff these days is getting to a point where it really is affordable. And now that things are affordable, it's a lot easier for me to get my hands on them, to test them out, to install them, and let you know what I think about them. So today I've got kind of a combination here, and you can order it as a combination from their website, or you can get either individual piece by itself. I have a 5-gallon pressurized water tank, and I have a propane shower heater from Openroad. These aren't necessarily designed to work together because they don't have to be designed to work together. Either one of these pieces will work just fine on its own. If you have any other type of water source, you can use the water heater to heat that up and use that. And you don't have to use a water with this water tank. It's a pressurized water tank. You put air into it and so it sprays out. You don't have to use that with this heater or any heater. You can use it all by itself. But they do make a nice pair. And as we start, even though I'm talking to you here from Arizona and it's like 18 billion degrees and my skin is gonna burn off the top of my head any second now. Winter is coming. We don't have to man the ice wall, but winter is coming. And having a nice warm shower at camp, or at least having warm water, like if you're washing dishes, you're doing whatever you're doing, having a heater to kind of heat up that water, how nice is that? So I'm finally getting around to getting this done. Let me pull this stuff out of the boxes so we can kind of see what all's included and we can get this rolling. Okay, so I have kind of spread out here everything that comes in the box, everything that comes in the kit here with the heater. Obviously, you have the heater unit itself. This is all heater unit. There is no water tank in here. There isn't, well, fill this up with water or whatever. All of this is here to, kind of run water through it. It has connections down here on the bottom. You can see this is where the water plugs in. This is where the gas plugs in. This is where everything plugs in. So you can't just like stand it up on something, and that's a little difficult, but it does have this kind of carry handle here. I'll actually show you. I think the way I'm going to set up to use this thing is when I have my tent open, there's some little bars underneath the tent that I can slide around, and I can put some straps through there, and then I can run the straps through to hang this. Then everything comes off here. Everything will be super easy. It'll work real well. We'll show you that in a minute. But I'm gonna go ahead and take the heater unit and I'm gonna set it down carefully so it doesn't get damaged while I show you the other things that come with it. In quick fashion, because nobody much cares. This here is gonna be, you've got a bag of all of the connectors and hose fittings and adapters, a couple of little wrenches. This actually has hooks in it so that you can hook this up and hang it, whatever. It's got lots of connections, what you need in here. You've got the gas line, of course, instructions, water pump, water connection hose, adjustable head shower, comes with the hose, and it even comes with this little shower holder guy. I don't know that I want to screw this to the side of my truck, but you do you. So that's everything that comes in the heater. There's a whole lot less stuff that comes in the water tank. Let's get the water tank open. I'll show you that. Ta-da! This is the tank. So this here is the 5-gallon version. And you can see it's about 42 inches long, something like that. The 10-gallon version is just exactly twice as long as this. They use the same extruded body size. It's just twice as long. I really wanted the 10-gallon, and I was gonna kind of place it up on the side of the roof rack, but got to thinking, there's a couple problems here. Number one, it fills from the top. And if I were to mount this on the side of my roof rack up there, it would be underneath the tent, and I'm not sure how I would get water into it. So there's problem number one. Problem number two, this tank just all by itself, the smaller version here, I think it weighs 30 pounds, and the larger version weighs 60 pounds, and you're at 7 pounds per gallon of water. So this little guy, the 5-gallon one, we're like 70 pounds all by itself. You'd be something like 140 pounds with the 10-gallon. And I don't know that I want that 70 or 140 pounds kind of cantilevered out off to the side using brackets off of the side. I really want the weight supported underneath. So I want the tank to be able to sit on top of the roof rack or wherever, whatever it is that I'm going to be mounting it to really get more support. So I decided to go with the 5-gallon because according to my measurements, it should fit perfectly up on the top of the rack, just kind of right in front of the tent. There's some empty space in there that I never use. I should be able to bolt it in there real easy. It's gonna fit nice, it's gonna look great, and it'll be very useful. So the tank itself, you can see, has a fill cap on the top. Take that fill cap off and you can actually see It's just an open spout. This is where you add the water in. And then on the top, you've got a couple of different valves here. This is a pressure release valve. So when you're done, if you still got pressure inside of there, you don't want to be carrying around this pressure vessel everywhere you go. Pull on this little guy here, it'll release the pressure. This guy here is just a very standard Schrader valve, just like a tire valve. And this is where you're going to add the pressure to pressurize the tank. So on this side over here, which is the same side that you've got the pressure valves and everything else, it's all kind of the business end over here. You have a gauge that when this is filled up, it'll show you how many gallons are in there, how many gallons remain. And then you also have the outlet here, which also has a petcock on it so that you can shut that off, so that you can disconnect the hoses when you're in transport and you don't need that hose floating around. And that's about that. You can see on the bottom, it's got these two rails here, and this is for the T-slot mounting screws. You slide the bolts up into here, makes mounting super easy. There is a T-slot rail on the side here, and there's another one on the side over here. I don't know that these are actually for mounting, but I don't know that they're not. I don't think, for my personal use, I don't think I would trust that small rail on the side to support the 70 or 140 pounds that this is going to be as you're bouncing around on the trails and whatever. I don't know that that's secure enough. Obviously, the two rails on the bottom, the channels on the bottom, completely trust those because they won't be suspending the weight. They're just going to be kind of holding the thing from moving. So maybe these T-slot rails are just for other accessories. So if you want to bolt a bracket to it to hold the shower or hold the hoses or whatever it is, that might be pretty useful, but I don't think I'd use these for mounting. Now let's take a look at the accessories that come in the box. There's not that many of them, but I'll show you what all comes in the box with this. Of course, instructions, coiled up water hose, shower head, spigot, faucet guy, riser brackets. We've got hose adapters in here. We've got a couple wrenches, and then we've got all the T-slot bolts and nuts that you use to mount the thing to the truck. So that's that. Let's get this planned up. Let's get up on the roof, get this tank mounted. All right, so here's where I'm at. I've got the brackets mounted. Okay, so you can see here, when you mount these, there's a little bit of play in how much room you have, like in that slot where the bolts go into it. So you don't have to get these absolutely millimeter perfect. You want to get them close. You kind of want to make sure that they're straight, you know? So when you look at them from the front, that they're lined up. But if they're not absolutely perfect, you're still going to be okay. The way that the T-bolts kind of slide in the bottom of the tank for mounting, you can move those just a little bit. So like I say, if the brackets aren't perfect, you're still going to be okay. And I don't think these brackets are perfect, but they are lined up. You can see where the tank is going to sit. They're nice and secure. So these lights right here on the side are actually in the way a little bit, and I'm having to slide them forward. I haven't drilled a hole for it yet, but I'm going to move them up to about there. They should still work just fine. That should still be far enough back that they don't shine on the hood, but we'll see how that goes. But with these out of the way, the tank should be able to drop in here just fine. Okay, and with the tank upside down like this, I'm going to go ahead and slide these bolts in. And again, these are T-nuts, if you're not familiar with these. And you can see, once they've slotted in, they won't turn. So these rails allow you to position the brackets wherever you want them, and a lot like a carriage bolt will, it holds the bolt steady, so as you're putting the nut onto it, you don't have to have a wrench on this. Works real well. So now you can kind of see I can just kind of lift this up, and then we slide the bolts over to where that bracket is. And you can see the bolts are coming down through the bracket there. So now we just need to put the nuts on there, tighten them up. And you can also see there's a lot of room to move this tank back and forth. So again, you don't have to get the positioning of these things perfect, because once it's in there, you can kind of put it where you want, tighten it up, make it good from there. So the tank is now mounted, and you guys didn't get any good footage of me putting the bolts together because there was zero room in there. There's a whole lot of like this action with the bolts and put it between your finger to put your tongue out. Really hard to get those things together. So you can see the tank's up there. I did not center it on the rack because all of like the business end over here, you can see like where you hook the hose up and everything. Had this been closer off to the side, it would have been kind of difficult to get that hose on there. I ended up having to move these lights forward. These lights were actually way back in here. And so I moved those up to here. And so now there's room for that tank, and those lights will still work just fine as they are. So now we got to fill it with water. Quite frankly, I'll probably do that tomorrow. So you're probably about to see a wardrobe change. went ahead and added a little bit extra water in here. You can see in the indicator here, you've actually got all the way up to 6 gallons indicated. And like as I'm moving back and forth here, you can actually see that water moving back and forth. So it's real easy to read how much water you've got in there, and filling it up is super easy. Take the cap off. Make sure before you take the cap off that you release the pressure. Again, whether it's under vacuum or pressure, you're gonna wanna release that so that's a lot easier to get the cap off. So as I'm getting ready to hook the hose up to the shower handle and to the tank all the way up there on top of Janky, bugs. I found something kind of interesting here that had me stumped for a second. I was grabbing the little rubber washers that you put into the hose to make sure everything's good, and like one of them wouldn't fit good and would fit good and whatever. So see, if you look here, you'll see you got the little black rubber washers. Well, one end, you can see there, it actually already has a washer on it, and it's like a clear white color. So you can see this side does not have a washer, so it needs a black washer. But this side already has a washer, and it's a white washer, and so you kind of can't see it, and it makes things confusing. But that's okay. I figured it out eventually. So now So that's on there. I'm not going to tighten it on with a wrench or anything silly like that. I think hand tight is just fine. And then I'll just screw that right onto the shower handle. Nice and tight. You can see it's got the little stop guy on it there. So now we've got water in the tank. All the hoses are hooked up. Last thing you got to do is you need to pressurize the tank, which sort of brings me to my secret weapon. And this is the secret weapon, as it were. So this hose does not come with the tank setup. It does not come with the heater setup. This is just something that I kind of thought up on my own. The instructions for the tank want you to run 30 PSI inside of the tank. So you take your tire inflation, whatever, you could take a hand pump. It doesn't require a ton of air to get to 30 PSI in there, but you want to make sure you maintain that 30 PSI so that pressure will push the water out, and it lives up to its name as a pressurized water tank. Well, what I did here is I just got some hose. This is whatever, Flexzilla off of Amazon. I got a couple of tire chucks on there. It's basically got a tire valve on top of the tank, and that's how you add air in. I'm gonna take this here hose, I'm gonna stretch it out, and I'm gonna plug it into my spare. I'm gonna make sure the spare only has 32, 35 PSI in it, so when it fills up, it will have what will amount to almost an unlimited source of 30 PSI air to push that water out. I guarantee you by the time all 5, 6, however many gallons I've got in there gets pushed out of that tank, you're still gonna have plenty of air in the spare. And if you're in camp for a while and you refill the tank a bunch of times and you're getting your spare so it's running down, super easy to air your spare back up. I think it's a lot easier actually to air the spare back up than to put air into the tank. Now, I will say, I'll give you the caveat, this really kind of only works for vehicles that have their tire out on the back of the truck, like Janky, FJ Cruiser, or a Jeep, or older Broncos and Blazers. Anything that has the tire mounted up and out where you can get to it, I think this is a fantastic idea. If your spare's up underneath it, no, it's not such a great idea anymore. But for vehicles like this, I think it's gonna work out great. And if you're laughing at me because I use Teflon tape, even though there's rubber seals inside of there, I don't know, it's just something in my head. I have to use Teflon tape. I just do. And there you can see I've just kind of looped the hose up around, kind of hooked it over a light, so it's just kind of up out of the way. I could take and kind of coil that stuff, put it up there. Whether the tent is open or the tent is closed or I've got my wedge style, whatever, this will work out fine. And then the shower handle, you can just kind of, I suppose you could just let it droop, but you can hook it in up top, just kind of set it there, whatever, until you need it. You can see it's got the little stop feature, right? You probably want to put it on stop before you open the valve up here. So you can see there's the shutoff valve on the water, and we just have to turn that petcock and it'll supply pressurized water to our shower. Looks like it's got like your regular, shower. It's got kind of a center stream, and then it's got this misting thing that will make sure that the water is always cold, freezing cold when it hits you like with that. All right, that's not so bad. Look at that. We'll come over here and we can wash this tire too. And then when you're done washing things off, you just set the shower up there. Kind of nice so far. So I've had the water tank up on the truck for about a week now. I've actually used it a couple of times on a job site to kind of rinse some things off. Not necessarily because I needed to, but just because I wanted to test the thing out. And it works great. It doesn't have quite as much water flow as like, oh, a nice luxurious shower. but if it did, you'd run out of water in no time for your shower. So it's probably perfect just like it is. I think it looks great. It's easy to use. The sight glass up there is very easy to read. The valve is easy to get to. You just kind of hook the hose up on there and you get your shower going, or you can use the wand to rinse off, wash off, do whatever it is you're doing. So super, super happy with the water tank. I love it. It's even better than I expected. It's better than I hoped for. And I want you to hold on to that because now we're going to talk about the heater. All right, so I'm gonna start the discussion of the heater inside because I kind of want to walk you through, here's where all the ports are, this is what this does, this is what that does. Go over all of that real quick, or at least the best I can. Because even though I have a user manual, this is pretty much worthless. I'll go over some of what's in here in a minute, but let's just suffice to say that this isn't any help, right? You kind of need to figure this out on your own. This is the unit itself. It's actually a fairly nice looking. I like the color, the shape of it's real nice, but liking how this looks is kind of where the happiness stops. So for starters, and probably, in my opinion, the biggest glaring error, problem, whatever you want to call it, is the fact that all of the connections down here are on the bottom of the unit. So you cannot stand this up. So they advertise this thing as being a portable heater, right? It says right here on the user manual, this is a portable water heater, right? Well, if you can't set it down anywhere and you take this thing camping, that means that this whole situation has to be suspended, right? So they give you this kind of handle up here so that you can hook this and hang this from somewhere, or you can see there's these tabs on the back so that you can hang this to a wall, right? Or maybe you have hooks or something coming off the side of your rack and you can hang it from there. But one way or another, because of all of this, you can't stand this thing up. You can't just carry it out to where you go, set it down. It has to be hung, it has to be mounted, it has to do something, but you can't just set it down. So the propane hose that they've included here, it's got the regulator on it. It's got an attachment for the larger, 5 pound and up bottles, which is nice and fine. It did not come with an adapter so that you could use the small little 1 pound bottles, but those are easy to find. And though I don't know, I assume a 1 pound bottle will work this thing just fine. So the hose, they sent it with this adapter that's on the back because the threads on the water heater are the wrong threads for the hose they sent. So instead of just building the correct hose with the correct fitting right here, they sent you this little adapter. Somewhat excusable, I suppose, just odd. Why wouldn't you just make it the right way? It also includes this here water pump. Now, because I've got the pressurized water tank on top of the truck, I don't know that I will need this water pump, but I also don't know that I won't. I'll test it out later. They may include this because this water heater requires a certain amount of water flow to work properly, and the tank up top of the truck may not supply enough, and so you have to use this. Well, you can see that this tank has these 4 mounting tabs on it, right? And they're rubber, so it'll isolate vibrations and whatever. But when I have this thing hanging somewhere in my campsite, be it underneath my truck, hanging off the side of the truck, where am I supposed to put that? What am I supposed to mount that to, right? And then it's got these little hoses you can see kink up super easy. So it does come with this whole wire pack here, and this is a cigarette 12-volt plug-in. It's got a switch on it to turn that water pump on. And then this is an extension cord for that wire setup so that you can plug it in from farther away. The water heater, however, doesn't plug in anything. It takes batteries. I didn't know this before ordering it, but it takes 2 D-cell batteries to power the thing. You got your little on-off switch right there. Obviously, nothing's happening because there's no batteries in it right now. This, to me, is almost a deal breaker. If I knew it had to have batteries to run, I probably wouldn't have ordered this. I don't like relying on batteries when I'm out in the sticks. I would far rather have something like this that just kind of, plugs in here, and then you can plug this into a cigarette lighter or a USB or whatever it needs to be. I think having to run 2 D-cell batteries is antiquated, and I don't want to have to carry batteries. So they also include this quick disconnect like garden hose adapter so that if you, for whatever reason, have access to a garden hose and that's what you're using instead of using like the tank on top of the truck, You can hook this up to a garden hose, and then they include this little adapter here. Because the garden hose doesn't fit properly into the rest of the system, all the rest of these threads are this smaller thread like you would find on like the end of a shower wand or something like that. So we have an adapter for the garden hose in case you're camping in your front yard. So they include this little bag. It's got a little bit of Teflon tape, which if you're using all these adapters, I guess it's kind of nice to have some Teflon tape in there. And then this has a whole myriad of mollies and drywall anchors so that you can mount this thing to drywall. So this is the screw kit that they include with the portable gas water heater. This is the portability, apparently. To aid you in hanging the thing somewhere, they do include these two little hooks, and that's nice, and I will actually use these later. And then they include these two wrenches here. And these two wrenches, this little wrench, the only thing that fits is the drywall anchors. So we can leave that alone. This wrench, it's too big. It doesn't fit that, doesn't fit this, doesn't fit that at all. That just spins. At least these, like it almost fits, like it kind of wants to fit. Doesn't fit, but wants to fit. Barely fits that one, but still kind of wobbly. This is still the wrong size. I don't know why they included this. Not only is this a fairly useless wrench because it's so thin, and I guarantee you this is going to strip out if you really try and use it, but it doesn't fit anything. Doesn't fit anything. And now, just to kind of close off the rest of sitting in here before I actually go outside and try and use it, I'm going to put my old man glasses on because I'm an old man. So I can read to you from the world's worst user guide. The best way I can explain this, the best way I can explain everything about this heater and what I've told a couple of people now is this feels like somebody had a project of coming up with a portable water heater, and they got about 2/3 of the way through the project before they got fired. And when the new guy came in, he thought the project was done, so he just put it out to market. On the cover, it says portable water heater, right? And I've already explained a few reasons why I don't think that the word portable should be used in this situation. But another reason is because right here in the directions, the first page, caution, blah, 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 they actually referred to this as many thanks for choosing our household gas water heater. Household. So what are we doing here? Not real portable. There is a winter and summer conversion button. You can see it says winter, it says summer. You can switch it back and forth. And if you listen, something's happening in there. It's doing something, but I don't know what, because they don't talk about it in the manual. And I'll read you a couple of lines out of this. Like, I am not here to make fun of the language conversion and, oh, these guys, they're too dumb to be able to spit. But here's the directions that they give you. Number 1, installation location. Over 600 millimeters above and 300 millimeters at each side shall be reserved to conveniently dismantle, repair, or maintain. The height of the fire-observing window shall be 1,400 to 1,600 millimeters. Nowhere in here does it say anything about what the fire-observing window is. There's no label. There's no nothing. I don't know what the fire-observing window is. The first time it says anything in here that I read about the batteries, it says, the batteries shall be replaced when it sounds slightly and lasts long when catching fire. Generally, 2 qualified 1.5 batteries shall be replaced once 6 months. I could go on, I could go on, I could go on. Again, I'm not here to try and make fun of people who don't speak English or whatever, but here I am talking to you guys at Openroad, who, by the way, I love all of your products so far, except this one. I'm not in love with the heater so far. Everything else you've done, love it. But Openroad and everyone else, I'm telling you, you have got to do a better job with your user manuals. This is useless. It's worthless. Not only does it give you instructions on how to mount the thing to the drywall inside of your home, but don't put it inside your home. Make sure you put... It talks in here about how to create a flue, a smokestack, to get the smoke out through the wall. And there isn't even a place to put a smokestack on the top of this thing because they've modified it. So somebody just took these directions from a household water heater and just threw them in here. Would have been better to just leave them out. So I'm going to take this outside now, hanging from the truck, now that I've got all the everything kind of hooked up okay, and I'm going to see if I can make it work. Okay, so I think I have everything set up correctly. I ran out to Home Depot and I got these little lengths of chain that you can see right here. I actually got like 5 foot of length so I could kind of manipulate and see how to hang it. I'm just using a couple of carabiners up here to hang from the tent, but I don't want, since this is burning propane, there's gonna be an open flame in here. I don't want this too close to the tent because there's no sense catching the tent on fire, right? So I want this kind of suspended down a little bit. I also kind of, because of open flame, don't really want it, and it may be internally protected, baffled, insulated, whatever, but I don't really want that heat up against the paint of the vehicle. I'd actually even thought if I took this loop of chain, I could loop it around the spare tire and it could hang off the spare tire in the back. But I'm a little nervous about having that open flame up against the rubber of the tire and the paint on the wheel, whatever. So I think this is probably the best situation. It's suspended here. It's got plenty of airflow around it. For the amount of heat that it produces, this should be enough distance that we're not going to be burning the tent. But I'll monitor. I'll put my hand up here, whatever. Make sure that the heat coming off of it isn't too great. Propane is hooked up and on the water line, and this is just the coiled up shower water line that came with the shower head for the water tank. I've just taken the hose off of this. This is the thread that's on the bottom, so you can just take the hose from this, plug it right into there, and it runs. I'm trying this without the accessory water pump because I don't want to use the water pump, so I'm hoping this works. You can see the green line up here. This is my air hose that actually connects up to the spare, so I know I've got water pressure. I have the shower wand plugged in. I've got the thing switched on. The switch is powered on, although this little display has not lit up, so I don't know if it's doing something or not. The gas is on. Now we're gonna flip this to turn the water on. We'll see if it doesn't start up. And I just heard it catch fire. And that's hot water. That is hot water. Hot water. Okay, so now we've got these dials on here. Let me turn this off for just a second. And when I turned that off, I heard it stop. So this is on demand. This is functioning. This is working perfectly, actually. So this looks like we can turn the hot water temperature up and down. This, again, the directions, absolutely useless. My assumption is that this, it gives you more cold or less cold. I think this is kind of like a bypass valve that mixes the amount of water. So this sets the temperature for how hot the hot water gets. And this sets the temperature for how hot the water is coming out of here because it mixes it with cold water. So let me turn that, just turned it all the way to cold. Let's get this running again. I just heard it light off. And now, like it's, woo, it's hot. It's hot. Okay, so let's turn that down. See if that makes any difference. It's hot. It's less hot. It's more tolerable. So if we turn this to cold, so now theoretically this should be less cold. And yeah, that gets hotter. So we'll turn this all the way back down. That's hot. That's hot. And that's not as hot now. Like this is actually working. This is actually working exactly like it's supposed to. The little gauge is telling me 120 degrees. So that's working like it's supposed to. And with this at its, now it's at 118. Now it's at 117. So that's a warm shower. Like, this is a little bit warmer than I typically take a shower, but this is totally doable. And then you can turn the water up to so it boils your skin off so women can take a shower in it. It's a joke, ladies, it's a joke. Well, this level of portability leaves a little something to be desired, but it's functioning, and it's functioning easy. Once everything's hooked up down here, like as soon as the water starts flowing, click, I can hear the thing light off and it gets hot. I mean, pretty much by the time the water gets to my hand, it's hot. So that is great, the functionality of it. And if I'm honest, I was a little worried I wasn't going to be able to figure out how to use the thing, right? So we're a little cumbersome, we're a little weird. So it's hot right there, right here where my thumb was. It's hot there. And the heat coming off of the flame, like it's hot on my hand right here, but I barely even feel it up here. So this is probably even, like I could probably even move this up farther and it would be okay. So maybe this whole length of chain was just a little bit of paranoia. I'm making a big puddle. So there you go, it works. Okay, so just for a quick test, I moved this back up. You can see this is the chain that I bought. The carabiners are up at the top there. And I just used the hooks that the heater comes with, and I hooked them to this rail here that's underneath my tent. And this is initially where I wanted to hook the thing until like, wow, there's a lot of propane heat, whatever. Running a couple of gallons through this, and again, my water supply here is only 5 or 6 gallons, so I'm gonna run out fairly quickly. You wanna take a quick shower. But running it like this, I could feel for that couple gallons, I could feel the tent getting a little more warm here directly above the unit than over here. So it's definitely having an effect on the tent, but it wasn't burning, scalding here. I don't think we're gonna do any damage. I don't think we're gonna catch a tent on fire. I think even at this distance, it's okay. I'd still probably be comfortable with a few more inches down here, really too, depending on how windy is it, like is there absolutely no wind, no breeze, no nothing, and all of that heat is gonna be delivered to the tent, versus if it's a little bit breezy or if it's cool outside or whatever, a lot of the heat will just kind of be dissipated down here. It's not that big a deal. Obviously, you want to be careful. You don't want to burn anything. You don't want to set anything on fire. But I think even at this distance, it's pretty much okay. It has this little heat shield on it right here that you can see that kind of diverts the heat. At least it gets it moving in a direction instead of just going straight up. Maybe that helps out a little bit. So far, as unhappy as I am with the portable nature of it or how the things hook up and the fact that it takes batteries and all the other things, it works very well. The function of the unit is fantastic. I can't flaw it at all. So as I previously stated, I mostly love everything about that water tank. So that leaves me with the heater. I guess the best thing you could say is I'm feeling a little bit disappointed about the heater, about not necessarily the function of the heater, but it has not been designed, it has not been built, it has not been finished to be a portable unit or a portable system. You get no carry bag. You don't get a box to take it out in. You don't get, like you've got all these hoses and a shower attachment, and all these things that have to come with it, but there's nowhere to store them. They don't clip in anywhere. You have to hang the thing, be it mounted on, like if you've got a bed rack on your Tacoma or on your Gladiator or whatever, and there's a spot where you could mount this thing to the outside, that would be fantastic. That would be great. But I don't have that. I have to hang the thing. I have to suspend it from somewhere. Maybe I could hang it off the back tire. Maybe I could hang it off the front bumper and just, figure out, okay, well, this is where the connections all need to go. This coiled up hose that came with the tank will actually reach all the way to the back tire, so I could use it back there. And a lot of that is going to be determined by where you set up your shower curtain. Openroad makes a fantastic, what I think they actually call it, a shower awning, right? I have one of them foldy poop tents that you set up in your camp wherever, and they're impossible to fold up, but it would work great. You could just run the shower in through there. You could use one of those. Or if you're not camping right next to somebody, or you don't care if they see you taking a shower, you could just take a shower out here in the open. And where you take a shower, I think, is going to determine a lot of where you place the water heater. Front of the truck, back of the truck, hanging out underneath the tent here, whatever it is. That was an absolute dry run that you just watched. I'd never tried it. I didn't know if it was going to work, and worked instantly. And it was easy. It was very simple. As soon as the water started flowing, it started heating the water. And what do you argue with on that? Like, the function of it was great. So I'm going to be headed out. I'm going to be camping. I think I'm actually supposed to go out with my daughter, who you guys will be able to meet on screen for the first time, because I'm out here in Arizona and she's out here in Arizona, and I'm super excited about this. So I will take this on my next camping trip and set it up, utilize it, and kind of see how I like it. I'm not sure that this is going to make a permanent addition to my camping setup just because of the lack of portability in the portable water heater. Though, if I do get out there and I take a nice hot shower and I absolutely fall in love with the thing, I may just have to figure out my own case, get an Apache case that it can drop into, and whatever the case is gonna have to be this big, and it's gonna be difficult to carry the thing around, and I'm gonna have to carry a lot of propane with me and all of the things, but maybe I figure that out. So bottom line, not as portable as I would like, but it's also only $150. Right now you can go on Openroad's website and you can purchase this for 150 bucks. If I remember right, I think the tank was $200, and that's for the 5-gallon. They do have one that's twice as long. It would fit, lengthwise this way. That is a 10-gallon. That had I had room for it, I absolutely would have gone for the larger tank. I just didn't have room to mount it on this vehicle. On a different vehicle, it would be perfect. There are other options for water heaters on the market that do a bit better job at being portable, and they're like $300 or $400. So where do you spend your money? You want to go to Home Depot and buy a $5 chain and hang it from something and just kind of figure out how to make it work, because this is what you can afford, and this functions fantastic. This works perfect. It's just harder to set up. But if you're on that budget and this is all you can do, if $150, I can buy a water heater. For $400, I'm not buying a water heater. I'm just going to live without it. Well, maybe that's $150 well spent for you. I guess that's about that. I don't know what much else there is to say about it. Functions great, doesn't pack that well, and it's nice looking, I guess. So as always, thank you for watching. Thank you to Openroad, because they did send me this water heater and the tank for free to test it out. And I'm absolutely in love with the tank, and this works well. I wouldn't say that I'm in love with it, but it works fantastic. From what I know about Openroad, from me working with them before, they always have questions. They're like, oh, how could we adjust this, and what can we do with this? I'd be more than willing to bet that we're gonna see some improvements, or maybe they're gonna design and build like a stand that this can sit in. So like, even though all the hoses and everything have to hook up down here, it just sits in a stand, and it makes life so much easier while you're out camping. So again, thank you, Openroad. Thank you, each and every one of you, for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, because we're gonna get lots more content coming out these days now that we're out here in blisteringly hot, I'm mad at the sun, Arizona. This is Arizona right there, see? At least I get to have In-N-Out Burger. I hope this was helpful. We'll see you on the next one.